The Redshift Sports ShockStop Stem is a damn good product. It's an excellent realization of its core purpose at a reasonable price that is completely non-proprietary. And there's not a whole lot of products I'm willing to say all of that about. I've been using one for well over a year now, and it's quite an easy recommendation from me. Just before I dive in more, I want to acknowledge that Redshift sent this unit for review, but they have absolutely no input in any of my content. So let's talk about how this thing works. It's a stem that installs exactly like a regular stem, which is nice. Inside the ShockStop is where the magic happens though. It's basically a pivot with up to 20 millimeters of travel that absorbs energy into these colorful elastomers that live inside. You change out the elastomers to vary how squishy the stem is, but I use the softest elastomer setup, which is how it comes in the box. All you need to change them is a hex key to get to the elastomers and something with a small hook on the end to yank them out. So it's really not a difficult process if you do need to switch them. Do make sure you've got the elastomers oriented correctly though, because mine came set up for positive angle orientation. I rode without the full benefit of the travel for quite a while. It was a little bit weird, but I got there in the end. So how does the ShockStop affect the ride quality? And it does feel a little bit strange when you first ride with it. Using the softest setting meant the stem would sort of dip a little bit under braking and when sort of tipping into corners. It also moves vertically a little bit, like when you're accelerating from traffic lights, but you really do forget about it rather quickly, and the movement doesn't at all affect or disrupt handling. So don't be nervous that this thing will sort of throw you off your game at the critical moment of turning into a corner. The most important aspect of it is how it handles unpaved surfaces. And simply put, this thing is killer when you're on bumpy gravel or bumpy terrain of any kind. And it's all about the cumulative benefit. The ShockStop reduces the severity of every bump throughout the day, and it makes a big difference by the end of the day. That means less stress on your hands, arms, shoulders, and your upper body in general. That added front-end smoothness helps on more gnarly and technical terrain as well. It's not a lot of travel, but it's more than enough to take the sting out of really big bumps and can sort of stop you being really surprised by them. The elastomers limit the severity of big hits because they make sure there isn't a hard stop at the end of the pivot. It doesn't behave like mountain bike suspension where you can blow all the way through the travel and have a very painful impact at the end of it. I've been testing the ShockStop for over a year, but the biggest test was a 4-day back-to-back bikepacking trip on some pretty harsh gravel roads. My mate Josh had a ShockStop too, and we both felt so much less beaten up by the long hours in the saddle. The longer you're riding or the bumpier the terrain, the greater the benefits of the ShockStop are. Now, let's look at the return on your investment. The ShockStop costs $269.99 Australian dollars, and that is very reasonable for what you get, especially because this is a universal product. It's not single use or proprietary, so you can move it between bikes with standard steerers and standard handlebars for as long as those things stay standard. I'm a big believer in comfort investments because anything that helps you feel fresher on the bike will keep you in the saddle longer and help you reduce wasted energy having to absorb and react to bumps. And I really love the fact that you're not locked into any particular ecosystem. I mean, this isn't like ShockStop that you find on a specialized roubaix or any of those sort of built into the frame technologies that you just really don't know what the brands are going to do with them. And that makes it a safe place to put your money and one where you know that you can get really long-term benefits out of it. Now, I really try and balance my reviews with criticisms because there are no perfect products, but I do struggle with the ShockStop because, as I said in the intro, it realizes its purpose so well. It's kind of heavy, I guess. The 100mm version I used comes in at 280 grams. It's also a little bit ugly because it's basically a rectangular prison, but that's all I can really say against it. It does come recommended for gravel riders wanting more comfort. It's as simple as that. So I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to ride safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.